So here, here's the equation, and it's using some operators. I explained that this is just the same as this equation, and this is the same as that equation. So it's just another way to do it. I think I do the more straightforward ways elsewhere, but there's a shader for if it's inside the ellipse, and that's used in all the circumstances like this, this, and it's there's a lower intersection and an upper intersection. That's when it crosses the lip, and I've got the description of the process. So is it even in the ellipse to begin with? If it's not, just throw it away. So is it also in the open ellipse? So what I'm doing in these checks is I'm saying, is it in this big ellipse, or is it in this small ellipse? Sorry. If it's not, just quit right now. But if it is it also in this one up here? And if it's in both of them, we know we've hit this little fringe here. For this,
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Don't move the thing there. So the bluish gray with the lip, that's being rendered by your shader too?
Oh, this part?
Yeah.
No, that's just the image.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure I didn't miss something there. Okay, go on. Sorry.
No. Okay, so the ellipse itself, we covered that. We covered the upper part. The lower part, we're checking, is it... Oh, I better double check to see that I know what this is. Oh, did I cover these backwards? I think it's the opposite of what I said for the other one. So if it's not in this ellipse, but it is in this one, then it's in this part down here. And then finally, this part below would be in below ellipse. So we find out, here we have to find out, okay, so how far up is this ellipse? And there's some, I don't know if that math is so interesting. It's just I pre-calculate the center of this bottom part and then figure out how far the time, or how far the slider has gone. Use that to find the centers. And likewise for this point on the right. So below. So we find out the height, and then we calculate the width of the height. And the first check is the pixel even here between the, is it too far to the right? Because this is the part where that can break down. So if it's gone outside, then we cut it out. If it's gone outside the glass. So is it below the surface? So is it also under this one? That puts us in here. And then there's a special case for the bottom. So if the pixel is far enough down, has it, better double check that. Okay, is it in this? Because if there is a very tiny fringe here at the bottom where it can be caught in the side, the left to right logic I don't think will catch it, so it'll leak into this part.
So mathematically it comes out where it's not as clear.
Right.
Right. Okay.
And so the other half of this effect is all in Lua. The slider itself, and then detecting all of these cases. So there's a topmost point, and I didn't figure out the exact solution for this, but I figured out basically if after I'd found a point, then I found, is it outside? And I tried to find a way to pre-calculate that time, but I couldn't. The equations were getting really ugly.
So it sounds like you've got you're calculating everything in between, but maybe at the uppermost and the lowermost, you're making special considerations to figure that out. Is that what I hear?
Yeah, on the Lewis side, I only need to do that for the top, but so basically at the center, there won't be any x value because it's x equals 0. So the ellipse equation becomes this. We have a center y because it's the ellipse is centered at that pixel. And then you just move the equation around and solve for y, and then that's where the upper point is. So from that, if you find that it crests the glass, then I use 2 objects. And I have 3 in-between objects. So up, lower, upper, middle. I hide any I don't need. And when I'm at the top, I show all 3. So I show this one with the upper ellipse effect, this one with the lower ellipse effect, and this one with the below. If I only have 2, then I show this with below, this with inside the ellipse.
Because you don't want to have something sticking up above the glass. It's this weird sort of...
Right.
Yeah.
So down here is the same thing, just with some different parameters for the color. And this one, all I need is this effect. Let's see. So each effect uses these same inputs. So the y, which I calculate, that's what I'm calculating there from the slider. So that's how high the liquid is going. And these are the ellipse constants. So this basically the scale factors at those heights. And I have some notes about how they're calculated. And those are the variable parts of this, but there's also a lot of things like how, if I can even remember. Okay, so you need to know relative and where this position is, and then scale it to 0 and 1, and within the image itself. And there's a few of these, so I calculate a bunch of constants, but you only have 4 inputs. So passing all of those in would be, we don't have enough room for them. But the input to the shader is a string. It's just a Lewis string. So what we can do in the shaders that need it is bake these constants in just by appending them into the code. And with that, once we do that, we've got enough room for it all. And I think since we were mentioning plugins earlier, there's shader plugins too. And I think what tends to happen is, once a library picks up steam and has, you think, I could do one effect this way, I could do one effect this way, and they're just a change of parameter. You might end up with just kind of a template string, and it would have guards in the code where you could say if this, do this effect, else do this effect, and you could create a whole. By the way, this doesn't relate to the example. This is expanding on strings as source. You can say at the beginning of the shader, use this option, and then only that part inside the code guard will get included. And this is what's called an Uber shader. So it's sort of a one grand unified shader. And you make a whole list of shaders, each with different options, and append that segment, and depending on the options, certain features will get enabled, certain ones disabled.
I got a question for you there.